strategic about the content that you're creating. Video, huge opportunity, clearly a theme of this whole show and also the idea of bringing it live. 83% of journalists will use your video content as you produce it. So it's a huge opportunity for message control. A couple other fun ones. Are you getting your CEO out there? 83% of journalists say an accessible CEO makes you more authentic. Anyone in the audience, I know it's good to exercise a little after lunch. Show of hands. Want your CEO leadership or brand to be more authentic? Anyone want that? Got a couple. I don't have to reverse it and say keep your hands down if you want to be more authentic, but it's something we're all trying to accomplish. Live video is a key way to make that happen. Quick overview on video for journalists, the different formats that they're taking it. Interviews, news packages, cut content, live events. They will watch, you can get them to watch your live events and take that content and then use it on their different channels. So we're also going to take a dive into, what's the kind of content you can create to make it resonate with them and how you can be effective. So communicators, we're doing an okay job. 57% of us already are providing live video to social sites. Interestingly, they're starting to get their CEO out there using this format. Numbers are only going to increase next year, more than 80%, whether you're an agency, whether you're in-house. Over 80% are increasing live social video next year. 57% increasing the CEO video they're getting out live. And you guys can hear me okay still? That's all working? Great. So the data rush will be over soon, and we'll get into some content thing, but I've got this one more. We asked communicators what are the most popular platforms that they're using when they're sending out programs on live video streaming. As you can see, Facebook at the top of that. Twitter was surprisingly low to me. LinkedIn is coming back, especially for the B2B audience. So a couple of choices, and it gets to the production quality. Are you going to go with your phone, or are you going to do broadcast quality content? And the phone can work for some applications behind the scenes if you already have a huge social following. The downside, you tend to be limited to one social platform when you go phone. Audio can be a challenge. If you're in a loud area, you need some special additional equipment as the mic, because the mic can be far away from the scene you're trying to shoot. Most positive thing, easy to be on location, and it's low cost. So broadcast qualities you're seeing here, this is a 3-camera shoot. They're streaming it live. It looks professional. They'll be able to take pieces from this, share it later. They could send out my portion. I'll put it out on my channels. All the other speakers can get their portions. It can get segmented and distributed. So it's a very positive piece, has a lot more flexibility and use to it. If you want content that journalists will use, you tend to need to make the broadcast quality step up if they're going to be putting on. And that doesn't just include television, that includes online journalists as well. They need a reasonable level of audio and video quality to want to post your link. And as we said before, a bunch of them are willing and interested to do it. You can go studio or on location with that. Couple of tips if you want to do it yourself. 3 pieces of equipment. Not necessarily expensive, though the dude from Brooklyn can be fairly costly. But if you want to go out of a camera, all you need to buy is this Blackmagic mini converter. It costs about $125. You can plug your output in, and it'll allow you to convert it to go into a laptop for potentially streaming it to a website. We use the OBS Studio. This is a one-to-one. As I mentioned, my producer, Mike O'Donnell, who is very willingly able to let me refer to him as a dude from Brooklyn. He does live there for authenticity. He knows the back end to put stuff together. Let's take a look at some of the specifics of the different channels. And feel free to question me, interrupt me, et cetera. It's all good. I want to hear if you've got questions or I'm not being clear. So, for brand awareness, Facebook, if you've got a strong following, generating leads, increasing interactions with followers, and it's versatile as the sites to work with. They're really encouraging it. They make it easier to do broadcast quality to go to Facebook channels. There's also a lot of influencers that you can partner with that have strong Facebook followings. Simply by following them and having them involved in the content, you're bringing your content to a larger audience, just that was being discussed in that last segment that was so powerful. A lot of benefits to Facebook. Twitter, media themselves are using it for major events, and you can use it yourself to piggyback on a major event. think episodic, and this can also be cross-platform. If you want to build followers, maybe it's twice a month or a weekly show, but you'll have an appointment show at a specific time on a social channel that you can create a following for with information that's relevant. So it's a regular piece. It's something that can grow. You're not necessarily going to do the first show and without major promotion or major celebrity or major brand following, expect to get huge numbers of results immediately, though they can be very well targeted. So think of building an audience as you go along and have a strategy to do that. You know, work with influencers, again, as we mentioned. Twitter is also very effective to promote live events that you might be holding on other channels, because again, you can access different followers of multiple people who can share info about the upcoming event, driving them towards the link where folks can watch it. YouTube, easiest to embed. So you can get the highest quality video and place it within your website, within your press room. Multiple locations that can be shared. Also, they make it easy if you want to go live on LinkedIn, as we'll note. They take the YouTube URL on the LinkedIn channel, and that's a way to get out on LinkedIn with high quality video. So for LinkedIn, you need that YouTube account if you're going to go live. The other way LinkedIn can be used is put a link to wherever the live show is happening on your LinkedIn. You can write an article about the subject you're talking about so your followers will see it. And then when they get there, they can click to where they can watch and be involved in the live programming. So that can make a big difference to encouragement. So I know I'm throwing a lot your way. Now, Instagram, and I have to assume this is purposeful, they don't allow broadcast connectivity. One of the folks I work with said his son figured out a way to hack into Instagram, but if they did it, they'd probably just shut down the site, so it's not worthwhile. Your story will last 24 hours. You can later load 1-minute clips or post that video from your camera roll to other social channels to get it out there. So one of the big things that we're excited about is why be limited to just one channel on that. And we're going to have a demo here. I'm going to bring Ben out, and we'll have a quick discussion and show how easily it can be seen on multiple channels at the same time, which hopefully will be pretty fun. This was an event for Lincoln where they were revealing the prototype of their new car. They wanted to send it to their entire internal audience to be able to watch live from the New York Auto Show. And changes in technology have made that much simpler. Instead of a satellite truck, we brought a backpack to the location, and we're able to get the signal out without having to spend, you know, $15,000 for the Javits Center internet or similar crazy costs to have electricians run the wiring and connect, and if the crew's there a couple days in advance. Thought I'd let you see a couple of case studies, how brands are using it. Typically, it's for thought leadership. So I've got 4 different examples. In a couple of them, you'll see, and I believe it's the first one, you'll see how influencers are partnering with, but let's take a look and listen, and then we can get some of your feedback on that.
We came together to write about those commonalities that all women face, about overcoming those obstacles.
She had a dream, it made us.
But let's take a look and listen, and then we can get some of your feedback on that.
We came together to write about those commonalities that all women face, about overcoming those obstacles.
She had a dream, it made her strong. Works as hard as the days are long, and oh, McDonald had a daughter. Look what she does with what he taught her.
Nice and loud, let the celebration begin.
This was for the opening of the Legoland Castle Hotel.
Hard as the days are long, and oh, McDonald had a daughter. Look what she does with what he taught her.
Nice and loud, let the celebration begin.
This was for the opening of the Legoland Castle Hotel.
Anna Dairy. And so
Thank
what do you
for
think?
having me. It's really cool, and it's fascinating because one of the things I didn't realize is that 97% of dairy farms are family owned and operated.
The opioid crisis has touched every part of our country. So we're here today to talk about a powerful and practical tool in combating it, physical therapy. I'm Sarah Smith, the editor of Prevention Magazine and the wellness director at the Good Housekeeping Institute. I'm here today with American Physical Therapy Association spokesperson Sarah Wegner, talking about opioids. You know, we know now they're not a safe cure-all.
So I think opioids, you know, they're great at getting rid of the pain in the moment, but they don't really address any of the underlying issues.
Yeah, so some questions when you're thinking about, and to review a couple. We saw a couple with influencers. The country music artist Maggie Rose partnered on the first one. You saw a broadcast from the studios discussed during the IR discussion, pre-produced content. There was a music video that was created. We were able to roll that into the live program. Of course, there can be audience interaction. You can be in a remote location for excitement. Some of the channels there that went through, you can actually create a mix of earned and paid for channels in addition to your own, and that'll be something that you want to tie into your promotion as well for that. And we saw the demonstrations are a popular topic for it. So do you guys have any questions about those? Should I try and be less thorough to stimulate questions? No? I see you're paying attention, so I appreciate that. So you have to think of your live event as a television show, because that's what it is. It's being watched in a different format. So is it a scripted show? Is it natural? Do you need to rehearse? What's the opening? When we talk about talk shows, there are a couple of elements of talk shows that make it easier. One of them is your guests. What else is another part of a talk show? Almost every talk show has it. You've got guests and the host. Yeah, there you go. So who's the host for this broadcast? And even if it's a live event, that's something that has to be thought of. When Legoland was doing that opening fun event, you know, how was the audience that was just tuning in online going to understand what was going on? So we had a representative from there give about a 30-second intro about what they were doing, what was happening, and get ready to take a look. So the online audience was up to speed. Now, your audience can also be journalists. It can be influencers. It can be prospects. It can be partners, and they can also be the participants, which is really cool. So what's the format of your show and how are you planning it? We tend to find the sweet spot is in like the 25-minute or so. You don't want to go much longer than that. But there is data from Facebook. Viewers go much longer on live content than pre-recorded content. They say 3 times the engagement. Also remember, live content isn't just live content. It ends up as pre-recorded content after the fact if you're being strategic about it. Another question that comes up, who's within the show? Is it an event? Is something fun going on? Is it just 2 people having a conversation? Do you want to invite people to join, say, via Skype? How are you going to take questions to get the audience involved? And journalists is a key audience for live broadcasts. Do any of you tend to schedule press conferences where you invite journalists to come? And if you are doing fewer of those than you used to do, maybe see a show of hands. You guys are doing more. This is a superstar audience. I just have to put this out there. But the reality is, it's tougher to count on journalists to get up, show up, and be someplace. We had an event that we were doing for a major client in the food industry. They were announcing a whole new approach to how animals were going to be treated on the farms that they were working with for their product. It was pretty major. We had talked with them about doing it digital to make it available to media. They just said, well, we'll do the phone call. We'll invite journalists here. It's a big story. They did the event on a Monday, which wouldn't have been bad, except the Friday before was the Brexit vote. So how many business journalists do you think came to that event to cover it? So I think when you have announcements to make, you want to be providing live video, which can include the pre-produced elements, content to journalists if you expect them to cover it sitting at their desks or in some cases at their laptops at home, in their home office, because journalists, media, they're everywhere. So you've got to feed the content to them, make it available if you want to get the major results. Let's also take a look at how you're distributing it. Which platforms, we touched on which ones. Again, what influencers are you partnering with? Can you use those platforms? Are there media outlets that would be interested in covering it? Also, can you combine it with other production. Anytime you have someone on your team that you want the world to know about or key audiences to know about, and you're shooting video with them, you've got to be thinking, who else would I want to see this video? Often we keep things to silos. We'll do external communications pieces, media tours, where I'll have a leader of a company, and when we tell them, do you think the leader should actually record a message to send as part of your internal newsletter and communications about what the heck they're doing and what they're saying about the people? They're like, oh yeah, great idea, but we're not yet wired to be thinking synergistically across platforms. So hopefully one of the top takeaways I want you to get from this is we've got to be thinking synergistically, both in terms of where it goes and also in terms of what we're recording when we're getting content and who it goes to. Now we've got a chance to bring Ben up. I'm going to roll up my sleeves, and this is very exciting. What's interesting about these sites is we're actually doing a live demonstration of how social media live can work, streaming to live multiple channels. So if you want to check on your mobile device, you can take a look at these, and I'll have a brief conversation with Ben because we're going to be carrying this video on all of these sites right now, just as a quick demo.
Want me to come at it?
Come on out.
Okay, I was busy watching the Twitter feed.
Oh, cool. And I thought I'd roll up my sleeves for this one.
Do you want me to lie on the couch?
And anything you want. I guess if we want to go viral, we'll need to do something.
That's a good way to go viral, too.
Okay, yeah, that works.
That would be special.
Just so you know, we were not the audio provider for this event for you folks out there. But there's been so much great stuff going on, and if you're watching on any of these sites, you'll be able to see us live. But Ben, I wanted to get your take. What have been some of your top takeaways so far?
From the conference?
From this conference.
That, video and distributing content and syndicating content is king.
Yeah.
I'm live. I hear it.
That's great. Now, you've been passionate about live. You guys still hear me without this? 1, 2, 3?
No. You need the mic.
I need the mic? No, I don't think this mic is working.
This is what happens at a live event, and everyone stay calm. It's all going to be okay.
We'll just lip sync the
This is where, when you're at a big event some places and you lose power or you lose audio, it's like middle managers totally freak out and start yelling at the sound guy, and it's life. It happens. This is called live, right? So this is what happens when you do a live event.
Well, I've got Ben to carry it for me. I can yell into his mic.
I could just babble. So I don't know where Euroland is located, but I'm looking at the picture, my Twitter picture, and the first time I met the CEO of Euroland, he met me in Vegas, and the first thing he goes to me, he goes, "Wow, you look a lot older in person, but you look fit." And now I'm looking at the picture, and I actually understand why, because.
Yeah, I don't know if your son is still here, but he would
No, my
certainly
son
comment
left. My son, after that session, he ran out of here crying. So
he was gone. That happens.
Disowned me. It's horrible.
But, you've had this passion, and one of the things I think that's so wonderful is how you bring your personal feeling and experience to what you do. I thought I'd be remiss in saying I remember my first live streaming event was in 1984, 2 locations, multi-camera at each. We charged the client $65,000. That's called the good old days. But, why do you believe it's such an important way to proceed? What do you
Video, just in general streaming?
Well, the whole live video that's so key to what you're doing.
I think it used to be the whole concept was you're going to create content and you wanted to bring an audience to a location, right? I wanted to go back to my website. I wanted to go to a destination. In today's world, it's about syndicating your content and going where your audience is. If you want to watch on Twitter, which I think is where most people get their news, that's great. If you want to watch on Facebook, that's great. If you want to watch on YouTube, that's great. If you want to watch in a gated community, if you want to watch on my website, our job is to bring content. It's sort of what West's mission is, right? We want to deliver mission-critical communications, digital solutions, to where our audience is. We don't care. Everything is mission-critical for our customers. It's all about delivering it. And if you don't, if you think you're going to do content and build it and they will come, you are so sadly mistaken. Those days are so gone.
Yeah, and I've got a slide up here, just a little bit to share how communicators are using video. And this is sort of a little troubling to me in that 86% of them are using it for social, great, wonderful, but 43% are using it to increase media coverage. So what that says, is you've got the video, you've got this great content, but you're not even bothering to share it with the media. I know a core element of the overall company is getting communicators information to journalists, people who can cover it.
But I'll give you my anti of this. If you think YouTube is a social destination and all your content should live on YouTube, you are even more sadly mistaken in thinking if you put content on your website that it's a destination.
Right.
YouTube is a syndication point. It is not the syndication point. Plus, keep in mind, every time you put something on something like YouTube, your content's here, all your competitors' content's here.
Right.
So you got to be smart with your content,
right,
especially with your earned media, right? It's about how do I want my audience to see my earned media, even my own media. You got to think about it. It's not just, when I say syndicate your content, it's not just throw it out there.
Right. Yeah, and also there are ways to make it interactive. One of the things that stopped a lot of people from getting out, and this just happened.
Was it Sarah Palin?
It does. I'll call it the Sarah Palin phenomenon, because this was 10 years ago when she had her Katie Couric interview. And the mistake wasn't Sarah, and I don't know if you ever get this, your boss say, we want to be in the Wall Street Journal, or we want to be on CNBC, or we want to be on network news, and they've done nothing. And they expect to be able to go from zero to being ready. So one of the opportunities you have with live streaming and other media outreach is give them a chance to find their specific voice, find their comfort level, see what messages are resonating, and do it in smaller, safer groups. I mean, my take on the Sarah Palin thing, putting politics in a box for a moment, and I know that's hard to do these days, is that they would have been much better off putting her on local morning newscasts similar to a satellite tour as the start, where the anchors would have been thrilled saying, oh, how are your kids doing, and what impact is this having on your family? And she would have gotten a free ticket to make multiple points, gotten so much more comfortable, had so much more content to talk about when she went to the big leagues. So I've got a quick audience test, and obviously the easy answer, it's a map of the US, but can you tell what this is a map of? And Ben, if you want to throw out some ideas.
Red states, non-red states?
Red states, non-red states is a not bad guess. Anyone else want to throw something in? It's actually how Trump became president. These are the Sinclair broadcasting markets across the country. And interestingly enough, I happen to know the political reporter, that's not the interesting part, but I had a chance to speak to him for Sinclair, who's at ABC in Washington, D.C., not an ideologue from either side. And he was telling me that he was begging Hillary to let him interview her, because he said, you need votes in these areas of the country, and her team refused. Trump, on the other hand, aggressively went after these markets with their message. So, if your leadership is questioning whether they should be doing that, I know there's a question that came up earlier about, what if they don't want to do it? How do you convince them? Clearly, what your competitors are doing is a hugely compelling thing. But the idea of writing off any audience in general for your organization is a mistake. You've got to be reaching them. And live streaming, video for journalists, it's a way for you to give specific types of content to specific audiences that you're going to cater to. And as you develop this and grow this, it becomes somewhat self-selecting, because people aren't going to sign up and watch stuff they have no interest in. Journalists aren't going to report on things that aren't in their bailiwick. Clearly, from the earlier discussion, you don't want to offend them by just blasting stuff that's completely unrelated to them. But if you do your homework and reach out properly to the influencers, to the right journalists, for the right types of stories, there'll be a pathway. And I think this is a key message that you've got to share with your leadership about they've got to be getting their content out to audiences. And it's our job as communicators to figure out what's the right content, what's the message, what puts them in a good position, and let them play a little bit in the minor leagues before they want to hit the home runs and get on these major outlets, because guess what? They might not be ready. And every once in a while you will get an example where you've got a leader that's ready for show, and that's good. So here are some of the takeaways. We've got go live, engage your CEO, get that person involved. Use social video to earn media. Reach out, let the media know what you're doing that's appropriate, that can follow. And we did a campaign about truth on trial for the communications area, and Ty Cobb, who was formerly President Trump's White House counsel, was on it shortly after he left. We ended up with the #1 story on Politico for about 8 hours when he talked about McGahn recusing himself from the Russia investigation. That hadn't been public news, and it came out, and the Politico reporter were like, oh, you want broadcast video of it? Boom. That clip is still on Politico. So when you're creating content and sending it to these journalists, not only does it go there, you talked about the example of sharing earned. You can send out a clip of a link to the positive video that you yourself created that another journalist posted and share with all relevant audiences. So you're getting that influencer endorsement.
Well, and this slide that you have up here makes me think this is one of the reasons why we acquired InExpo. And it's one of the reasons we're so excited about the space. Because go live with quality, right? Broadcast quality. It's why we bought, one of the reasons we bought the company. Engage your CEO, engage your audience. Another reason why. Syndicate your content, right? It's a platform that enables us to syndicate. Think multi-channel, it's what it's all about, and promote your event, which there's no better tool than our PR distribution. So I love this slide.
Yeah, and promoting is a key part of it that I wanted to just touch on as a last thought. You know, plan that in advance of the event. Twitter recommends a week out, you start promoting it. You can do a mix of paid on the channels where that content will be featured, but also what are other media outlets that might be interested in the story? Hey, will they be willing to cover the live thing? Should you do paid with them to get them to cover the live stream on their channel? These are all opportunities to get broader reach from everything. If you guys have questions for us, you can throw them out. Otherwise, we'll let you continue with this fabulous event. Hopefully you got something you can take with you and put into action immediately. One clap is what I usually get. I think she works for me, too. Thanks, guys.
Doug, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ben. That was great.
Thanks so much, Doug. That was fantastic. My Twitter is blowing up.
Oh,
That's
good,
really
good.
great. So all of our sessions so far today, whether it's influencer marketing, multimedia in your press releases, streaming to social, they all have one thing in common, is that they all rely pretty heavily on having really great content. So for our next session, we thought we would dive just into that specific topic. Creating great content, how you manage that within your organization, how you keep it going, whether it's writing, infographics, multimedia content, we've got you covered. So here to teach us all about how to create great content and more, we have Pete Marsh, Vice President Marketing at News Cycle Solutions, and Adam Clement, Creative Content Lead for the Associated Press. Come on in, gentlemen. And Ben,
Awesome.
when you're ready.
And can we change the slide set? Can we go back to our corporate slide set if we can? Who's ever doing slides? Thank you, Jeremy. Awesome. Oh, this is not this one. No. Nope. 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 Thank you, Becca. I appreciate it. Hey, guys.
Hello, Ben.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
How's it going